Okay, so yeah, I wanted to talk about you know, when you work at a job, there's no control. So no control, and I guess what I mean by no control means there's you have no like if you have no direction from the client, you also have no control, like no artistic control. That means that if you ever wanted to get into animation and you really wanted to have control over how something looks, you really want it to be if you want to be creative, okay, if you want to be creative, um, there's often no control unless you're the storyboard artist, unless you're the writer, unless you're one of the people who works in pre-visualization, you're not going to have any control. You're going to be a cog in the machine. You're gonna be a hopefully a competent one. You're going to have a set of skills. They're going to want things done a certain way, and you just they're going to give you all the plans, hopefully, and you're going to have to do whatever you got to do to make it happen. Um, so again, not all of us can be storyboard artists. Not all of us can be creators. If you look at, I don't know, when I looked at the visual effects industry, when I looked at the movies industry, um, what you have is you have one writer, okay, and then that comes down to maybe one director, and then that comes down to maybe one or two art directors. Sometimes there's more than one, and then you've got animators, and you've got a whole bunch of them. And the thing is this: what I'm trying to say is that it becomes this tree that just keeps getting wider and wider and wider and wider. So you can think of this kind of a pyramid. It's not so much a chain of command; it's like a pyramid of command. And so chances are there's going to be a large proportion of that pyramid at the bottom, all right, is just going to be regular Joes like you and I, people who didn't get a chance to be at the top of the pyramid. And, and as a result, these people at the bottom of the pyramid who you are most likely going to be, you're not going to have any artistic control. The only way you get artistic control is if you're one of the writers, storyboard artists. You're someone with real control over the story. You're not going to have much artistic control outside of that. Most times, it's going to be you asking the art director for input, and they may or may not have it for you depending on where you work. Okay, and then there's control. Sorry, promotion. Yeah, promotions. It's like when you work at a place. The old idea was go to school, get a diploma, find a job, and gradually, they promote you and promote you until you become manager. They promote you until you become general manager. They promote you, and eventually you find yourself, I don't know, fucking president of the goddamn company. And that does not happen. Okay, it does not happen. It's because when they hired you out of college or they hired you for a specific skill set, they hired you for that specific skill set. There's a term for it, and we call it pigeonholing. You get pigeonholed because the thing is that look at it from the look at it from the employer's point of view. Okay, if I'm an employer, ideally when I work on a movie, I need manpower. I need to get shit done. And if let's say let's say I'm just a homeowner. Okay, I run this home, and my toilet breaks down. Let's say my toilet breaks down on a regular basis. I need a plumber to come in regularly, and I need to make sure that that plumber doesn't suddenly find himself wanting to get a promotion and become, I don't know, the guy who basically redoes all of my plumbing. It's like, you see what I mean? It's like sometimes I need him to just be a plumber, and that's it. And whenever you're dealing with large productions, the higher ups are going to need you to be that one guy who's reliable. They're going to want to count on you for that one thing, and that's all you do. That's all you'll ever do for the rest of your goddamn life. That's all you'll do. And you know what? For some people, okay, there's a lot of people that I've met who are not the type of people who I would say are meant for being independent and growing and growing and growing and doing that kind of thing. That's fine. So for some people, they're willing to spend their entire lives until they're 60 or 70, retire, and they'll be like the master guy of that one job. And like I say, it's doing the whole freelance thing like I do is not for everyone. For me, what happens with me, the reason why I couldn't do that was because I work at any place for 6 months, 6 months to a year. I get used to my job, and I write programs, I automate things, I find the easy way to do everything that I can, and then eventually I can just sit back and let all of my programs do everything for me. And I come in there and I've just like, that's the thing. A lot of my bosses would come in and they would see me and they're like, they're thinking that I'm not doing anything, right? And in a way, I'm not, because I've already automated everything. It's like I get all my work done, and they get mad at me. They may get mad at me because I don't look like I'm working. And and eventually it's like I'm like, well, I've been asking you, for other jobs. I've been asking my bosses, like I'm wanting to go up, and yeah, it's just they eventually wind up at loggerheads, and maybe about within 2 years, 2 to 3 years, maybe sometimes 4 if I'm lucky, you know, I'll just be completely sick of the place. We'll be sick of each other, and then I'm just like, I'm fucking out of there, because they want you to do one thing and only one thing. That's the pigeonholing, and might be for you. So it's not necessarily a negative thing, but it is something that happens. Um, okay. So anyway, what else? It's not all bad. I mean, there's some things that were good about it. Oh, like I mean, there was oh, I should say benefits, of course. Money. Okay. So, yeah, there was there were benefits. It's nice having a dental plan, nice having a drug plan, health plan. These things are all wonderful. Um, it's in this day and age when we're all fighting over things like health plans. We're all cost of living is going up. You need benefits. You need money. And the reality of things is, we don't all have the liberty to go and choose whatever job we want. Sometimes, I took my jobs in the visual effects industry because it was all I could get. It was what was offered to me. You don't turn down a job. During my time, it was just you took whatever you could get, and I was lucky. At least the job that I could get was in the visual effects industry. I was doing a lot of programming and whatnot. But what was kind of nice is that eventually I got into compositing. I worked on Earth Final Conflict. Which is like this it was a science fiction Gene Roddenberry's Earth Final Conflict. God, it was really corny as heck. I worked on Beastmaster. I worked on some pretty funny stuff, right? It's like just made for TV movies, made for TV, like just some ridiculous television stuff. And you know what? I tell you, I've worked on other movies. I've worked on Dawn of the Dead, worked on Resident Evil, worked on these other things, and I tell you, you know what? Working on the television stuff, working on the corny television stuff, I had more fun doing that stuff, because what would happen would be the client would basically send you a tape of live action footage. Okay, they send you not on a VHS. It would be like a beta, like a digital beta tape. It would come to this place. It would come with a sheet of numbers to tell you where the shots are, where they roll the camera, where they stop the camera. There's a sheet of numbers. You're assigned a specific shot to deal with. You take the tape, put it into the Betamax, into the digital Betamax machine. You grab the footage onto like a DPS perception workstation. So it takes all that digital footage, turns them into still images. You bring it into After Effects. You put in your laser blast. You put in your transporter effects. You put in the whole like the all the gory stuff. Or you do your set extension. Once you're done, you crank out the still images back to the DPS perception machine to basically crunch that stuff down and put it back onto the tape. And so that's the thing, is that when I worked on Earth Final Conflict, I worked from tape to tape, meaning that I handled everything from beginning to end on those shots. And there wasn't a whole lot of meddling. There was maybe a little bit of client requests, but for the most part, that was probably one of the times where I actually had a lot of control. Surprisingly, I had a lot of control. And so Earth Final Conflict was a fun team to work with. And then what else? I miss my buddies. I miss working with other guys, working with a team. It was great. People to go out to lunch with. People to yak about bullshit with. It's great. Nowadays working freelance, I still have I still have a tiny chat up. And I talk with a bunch of other people while I work, so it's not so bad. But I do kind of miss having other people. The other thing is that when you have other people in the room, I find it really helps me feel like I want to work, because when other people are working, I want to work too. It's very motivational to have other people near you. So I miss my buddies. And then I also didn't have to think as much. I didn't have to make as many decisions. I didn't have to, here's the shot. Here, we already have the story. You don't have to worry about the story. You just have to make sure that the effect looks realistic. And so I didn't have to think as much. It was not nearly as brutal. I guess when you're doing actual drawing, rather than, say, visual effects, you might have to think a little bit more, but yeah, I didn't have to think as much, and so that was another of the really, I didn't have to do everything. I got to focus. I got to do one thing and just focus on that one thing. So in a way, like I said, the pigeonholing is good. So because I tell you, when I went freelance, it got a lot harder because I had to figure out everything. Anyway, we're out of time for the big leagues, and I'm pretty much done everything I want to say about the big leagues. And so we'll talk about the small leagues next. So let's stop that there.